Awesome, man. And I have James Toller here from Clear Lake, Texas. And James is a very seasoned, experienced wholesaler, fix and flipper, real estate agent, broker, and also a lender, a private lender as well. And James, you've been in real estate for what, 13, 14 years now?
Five.
How much?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, 5 years. Really excited to have you on the show, James. I'm super, super pumped. And, me and you know a lot of the same people, and you're probably one of the most highly thought of people that I know in Houston. So it's an honor to have you on the show today, man. So James, kind of tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate. How'd you get started?
Well, I ran a highway maintenance company. It was a family business for really since I was 13 or 14. I started off at the bottom. We did did the mowing and litter, debris, sweeping. And my dad put me at, I picked up litter off the side of the highway, with a stick. Yeah, seriously. So he put me at the very bottom and made me earn my way up, very young, summers, that kind of thing. And then I got into mowing. So anyway, I'm glad he did that because it made me earn and I was out there working with other people. So you kind of get a feel for, hey, this is not easy. And you appreciate people a little bit more. If you had just threw me in a management position, you don't quite appreciate what it takes besides you doing it. So anyway, I did that for a while. I lived in Austin 9 years. So we got a very large contract doing all the toll roads up there.
Okay.
In my early 20s. And so I worked Houston, managed Houston for him. We got that big contract. And then I went to Austin and managed that for him for 9 years, did real well, and met my wife, back, that was in 2011. I met her and, she really got me thinking a little bigger, to be honest with you. It's something that says a lot about your spouse and people in your life, the influence of people in your life. I'd probably still be working for my dad today.
Wow.
Yeah, I probably would. I'm a loyal guy. So it wasn't really, didn't occur to me that I could do more.
Right.
And it was my wife at the time and she was going for her CPA license. She had a master's degree. I didn't have nothing. And part of her requirement was to date me. This is kind of crazy. Just a quick thought is she actually said she had a goal and a vision to have her husband would have a degree. And I had nothing. So it was kind of like an ultimatum. I liked her a lot. Yeah. Like, look, on my goal list, I know you're big on goals, and your vision board and writing out, kind of like designing your life in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
Letting it play out. Well, part of her design was he'll have a degree. He's going to be educated. And not that the end y'all be all, right? I mean, a lot of people, it doesn't really matter. Someone like me I have a degree as a requirement to marry my wife.
Wow. Man, that's commitment right there. I love
that's
it.
Commitment. Yeah. But it does one thing or another to you. I took it as a challenge. Here's somebody wanting something out of me to better myself. And I took it as that. Right. And I could have took it like, who do you think you are? We're just dating here. What do you mean you're wanting me to? That's crazy. We all take things one or two ways. And that's how I took it was, you want me to do great things, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was actually a big part of me breaking out of a family business and getting into real estate. Now, so I got my finance degree because of her.
Okay.
And I had a project management background, which is managing all these crews.
Right.
That was something so I had when I was looking at what will my talents transition to, and I was watching HGTV, like all of us.
Yeah.
Here's $80,000 flips and stuff, I'm
Oh
thinking,
yeah.
well, shit, that's not that far off. And not that that was accurate or anything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You forgot to mention, interest and, real lenders and realtors and,
Oh, yeah. They don't. That's what's funny about those shows is they'll say, I bought the house for 100, I put 50 in it, and I'm going to make this. But I'm like, what about all the covering, the holding costs and all of that? It's like, yeah, it's not as squeaky clean for sure.
no, but it was enough of an inspiration to me to get into it, to learn that. So that I must say that it's kind of like a deceptive practices,
Yeah.
But it was enough of an inspiration to start. And then I learned, and there is a lot of money to be made, but
Sure.
but you have to do it right, in my opinion. But anyway, so I got started really as a way, I use my finance background, which that's what real estate really is in the end. Is it's a combination of labor and relationships, which is, harnessing contractors. It's on the flipping anyway, and it's financing. So can you finance the deals, and can you handle the construction?
Right.
And then, so once you get those figured out, then it's, more so the marketing and sales.
Right.
Once you so that's what I figured. I figured out the money, I figured out the contractors, and then I focused all my attention on, marketing and sales aspect, which, that's where the game starts. And if you don't have deal flow, you don't have nothing.
Yeah.
So I pretty much all my time went into finding deals and marketing and sales. And I've always been pretty good at sales. So that helped me a lot. I wasn't necessarily the best marketing guy, but I was good at sales. And so that's how I got started, really, was wanting to take control of my future a little bit more too. I thought that was really important. And I had a wife, and I had started having kids. So, it was, I would say a lot of it, I'm more motivated by people relying on me, which is a kind of a weird thought. You think about when I started doing 1 or 2 at a time, and then I started doing 5 at a time, and then 10 at a time, then 15 at a time. It was really because I kept finding private lenders who were looking for me to find deals, or their money would go somewhere else. And then I started getting more crews. Right. And the crews were relying on me to find more projects. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like and then I had the money from each deal to be able to float all the notes. So everything was waiting on me. And I'm the type that if it's on me, I'm very motivated.
Right.
You follow me on that thought?
Yes. You kind of thrive with a lot of responsibility,
Bingo.
Yeah. And that's huge, man, because you met your wife, she challenged you in a positive way, pushed you, you thrive off of that. You thrive off of, having people that, honestly, God, when you have contractors, you have crews and teams, they're literally feeding their families through the work that you're providing. You know what I mean? It's a huge responsibility, super motivating. I can relate. Honestly, I'm way more now that I'm engaged. Very thankful for that. I'm way more motivated now than when I was single, right? Because if it's just you kind of, I'm good. You do a deal, whatever. You know what I mean? It's
sure.
When you have people that that are relying on you, and they're looking to you to show up every single day. It could be either really, really motivating, like it is for you, or it could be really bad for other people.
I think it depends on the type of person you are. I think if you're a high quality person, you take stress, or you take, a reliance on you, and you take it seriously, and I go to my contractors, I go to their kids' birthday parties. I see them. I see that the reason they have that piñata, or that they have those presents, was because we worked together, and I found deals. And it does 1 or 2 things to you. Like I said, when a woman says, "Hey, you're going to get a degree, or we're not going to be together," most people, would you agree? Most people would say, "Who do you think you are?"
98% of people would have. And it was funny is I was writing this stuff down, James. And I put, you can either look at things as a challenge, or you can be a victim, right? And so I would say 98% of people would be, I'm a victim. Who are you? And I'll be honest with you, I'm guilty of that sometimes myself.
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And especially when it's people close to you, it's easier to take things personal. But to look at it as a challenge, I think that's that's like a next level mindset. And it's a little uncomfortable, but man, super motivating if you can look at it like that for sure.
It's perspective, how
Yeah.
you see something in its growth. So I was valuing growth over a fixed mindset. And I've always been that way to some degree, but I think I never understood the importance of others, quite the incentives that others create in me and the motivation. So
Right.
over time, I've tried to get people around me that, inspire me and motivate me and push me. And
Right.
so that's a motivating factor. Part of it all is, knowing yourself,
Yeah.
and that's
100%.
motivating. I'm more motivated at the idea of someone else succeeding than necessarily myself.
I get it.
And that's why I would stay with my dad. Stay. He's doing very well and paying me as little as he can.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it. And I'm fine with that. So I don't know. It's just knowing yourself a little bit. I think is important. And that was me in a nutshell. It's I want to grow. So who do I get around myself that helps me do that? I think we all should be thinking about that.
No, 100%, James. I totally agree, man. So your wife pushes you, you get a finance degree, you go into, you leave your dad's opportunity in his career, his job, and you go into fix and flipping. What were some of the biggest challenges? Like, going in your first few projects, what were the biggest hurdles that, you had to overcome during that?
Well, that's a good question. So the one thing I noticed about real estate is for every problem you solve, you create another one.
That's so true.
Yeah. So it's like,
so
I'll
true.
never forget the first time I ever did 2 deals at one time. I remember thinking to myself, if these ever sell, I'm going to have a lot of money.
Yep.
I'm going to have a lot of money. And, it's kind of like, so I didn't start off with a ton of money. I kind of started off at the bottom like everybody else.
Right.
And I had a deal. I just shared this because it's kind of an interesting thought. One of the first big deals I ever had, I made $71,000.
Nice.
Yeah, this was one of the first deals I had.
That's a lot of money,
first
man.
big one.
Yeah.
First big one. And I never forget, I was kind of getting low on my account, and I was like, okay, well, it's getting a little lower and a little waiting for it to sell. It took maybe like 3 months to when it was on the market. So it was a little longer on the market. It was an expensive house, and it sold, right? So I was low and I was kind of stressed out about it being low. And then when it sold, I got some of the money I'd put in back. It was probably 90 grand, 100 grand that I got back. And then I had a whole nother problem. So, it's like, now I'm stressed because I have too much money.
Wow.
And it's not earning anything, right? So it's like, there's always a challenge. So, you're talking about finances. So now I have a larger bandwidth. I can now do 3 or 4 deals at a time because of this deal.
Right.
So, I went out and it was, okay, now how do I find more money? Then it was, okay, well, now if I do 2 or 3 deals at a time, I need another crew. That one crew is good, but, to do 2 or 3 deals now, he's going to Home Depot for his employees.
Right.
The quality of these other houses are going to shit.
Yeah.
So I had to find, that was the next step, right? So I need better crews. I need, better. So it was always a matter of, so then I learned, well, I always need to be looking for good contractors. I don't think you can have too many of those.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So when I'm in neighborhoods, driving around, looking at houses or whatever, and I see a contractor working, I'll stop. Even to this day, I do that. I'll stop in there. I'll look at his job, see the quality of his job. I'll get a feel for him. And if I like him, I'll get his number.
That's cool.
So I've got a Rolodex of in my phone of tons of contractors. That's really not a problem. But I've been doing that for how many years?
Right. Building that up.
And if I liked them, I'd put them in my phone. And then if over time, one might fall off and I would just get another one.
Gotcha.
And then another one. So that was how contractors is a huge issue. They can make your life miserable or make it simple.
Yeah, and
on the flipping anyway.
yeah, I've experienced that. I haven't done a whole lot of actual flips. I've probably done maybe 12 to 15 in total. And I've only, what's crazy, James, is I really suck at flipping, right? So like this past year, I had my first fairly profitable flip ever. I mean, all my flips, I mean, I was making like 5 grand, 7,500. I lost money on one of them. And then I finally had a flip where I made 31 grand. And I was just like, I say me, the company made 31 grand, but I was just like, wow, this actually worked out in the positive for the first time. But it was because I had a good contractor, you know, and
Yes.
really, really made my job a lot easier. In those other situations, people left the job site. The house was sitting there with no work for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, just, you know, all kind of problems, man. So I totally agree. So that kind of goes back into what you're saying with real estate real estate is finance, but it's relationships because you got to have people, you got to have the right people. So that's huge.
That's finding deals.
Right.
That's, you know, the better relationships you have. So you want to have some, you know, a wide net of relationships, but you also want to have as deep as possible in those relationships. It doesn't do you that much benefit to have, you know, 500 friends or 500 acquaintances, but none of them think of you when they got a deal.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
So how deep can you get as well as wide?
Right.
I think that's something, that's just relationship building and behaving in a way that people want to work with you.
Right. Absolutely. No.
You know, every time I do a deal, I think about, you know, laying the expectations out from the beginning and making sure that I exceed them. And so you know what to expect, and I make it even better than that. Well, you know, if I can teach you something along the way, or you know, add value into you a number of ways, maybe say something, maybe give you some inspiration, maybe give you a smile, some energy.
Yeah.
You know, things that will make me a little different so that you feel like the transaction went really well. And
Right.
you'll want to do another, you'll be more inclined to do another one.
100%.
A lot of my, you know, my loans that I've made or wholesalers that I've worked with, we've been working, there's no reason to go anywhere else.
Right.
And if I take care of you and I give you a good price and I'm mentoring you, and, you know, there's just no reason to leave.
Right.
And that's the goal of business, right? Is to have customers and clients that are delighted in you.
100%. Yeah. And you build that repeat business connections versus, you know, if it's just transactional, which a lot of real estate is, you know, especially with wholesaling and things like that, it's hard. But if you can build those relationships with good buyers, good wholesalers, then you're like, hey man, I got this deal. Go ahead and take this off my hands, or whatever it is. And it's there's a book, I forgot, it wasn't Stephen Covey, but I think it might be his son, but it's called The Speed of Trust. It's a really good book, and he kind of talks about the more trust you have, the faster deals get made. You know what I mean?
I would say so.
Yeah, because it's just, you know, you have that high level of trust. You don't have to overthink things. And that's huge, man. So it sounds like that's what you've built, you know, in your business, is just a lot of credibility and trust. And it seems like
I would say another thought, it's kind of, you just brought that up, which made me think about this. So think about a young investor, somebody new that hadn't done a ton of deals. What level of conviction do they have that this process even works?
low.
Probably not a ton, right?
Low.
So if you can take somebody who's maybe new, who would like, you know, a new career, or maybe just to do 1 or 2 deals to see how it goes, to the degree that they can trust me, will be the degree of effort that they put into looking for deals.
Right.
So you say the speed of trust. That's an interesting thought, because I would say that's something I've been able to do, is to take experienced people and unexperienced people and catch them on fire.
Yeah. Right.
If you can catch these young people on fire, or young investors put them on fire, they're going to go out and put a tremendous amount of effort in looking for opportunities.
Right.
You know, so, and that's, you know, it's kind of interesting. You think about that. If you can do that to everybody, then you have all these people set on fire. Well, how could you not be successful?
Yeah, no, 100%. I 110% agree. And it's huge, man. And, so now going into, you're starting your fix and flips. Obviously you're like, good point. I've experienced this as well. It's like you solve one problem, now you got two more. I always think of it as like that. There's that game where you hit the things that pop up. And it's like, I feel like that's what real estate is.
Yeah.
It's just never ending. It's like, you think you have it all done, and then this pops up, and title issues and this and this. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's just part of the process. So you go into fix and flipping, you do obviously a whole bunch of projects. What's your focus now? I know you made a little bit of a transition. What does your business look like, and what's the focus for 2022?
Yeah, well, part of it was maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. A year ago, I made my first loan, which was just because I had a lot of money sitting around. Just be honest with you, I had too much cash, and like a lot of this is private money that I'm getting, so I'm getting pretty good deals, so I'm not bringing a ton to the table. But it's just, you look up and you got $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 in cash sitting around. I mean, and you still have money out and about, but I mean, you have too much money. You don't need that much money in cash, just to be honest with you. So, I made a loan, it was a cash deal. I partnered with a buddy of mine, another private lender. So we split it 50-50. And I think it was like $60,000. And we each put 30 in. That was the first loan I ever made. So then I said, well, I like that. It was a good deal and everybody was happy. So I did probably 15 or so loans like that, where it was 50-50.
Okay.
And I went through $700,000-800,000.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah. And it was 50. So it was more like 1.5 million, 1.6 million.
Yeah.
And just cash, right? I had no loan, no nothing, just straight cash. And that got me into the game of understanding how it worked. Because it's not like you jump in something, you just know it all.
No, no. Especially with lending money. I could only imagine.
I didn't have an underwriting team or a processor or an inspector. I was doing all of it, but nobody jumps in something and knows it all, right? I mean, it keeps people from acting, actually, because you think you need to know it all.
Right.
And I've always been the type to jump in it and then learn like crazy.
Yes.
And then over time, I grow and get a little better and a little better, figure it out a little more and a little more. But I stay with problems longer than most.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can keep myself concentrated on one question, right? I ask myself, how do I make a lot of money? How do I create win-win situations, right? How do I retain clients? How do I acquire clients? And I stick to that. That's a question you should be asking yourself as a business owner. How do I do more deals, right?
Right.
And to the degree with which you can remain focused on that question, the more likely it is you'll answer it with a higher quality answer.
Right.
If I stick to that one question for 3 years, I'm going to get better at answering it.
100%. Yeah. And opportunities, and you'll see the opportunities when they present themselves and the clarity.
Bingo, because you're looking, it's kind of like law of attraction, right? I mean, if you're looking for it, you'll find it. And so with lending, I jumped out there. I just jumped out there and I picked people I trusted. So that was a part of it too. Right? And I know a lot of people, so it helps. Like I told you, I try to meet one person new every single day. Have I ever told you that?
No.
Yeah. So every day, and I met somebody this morning.
Nice.
Every day, literally every single day, I try to meet a new person that I've never met. And it just, grows your network, right? I mean, you try, and then to that person you meet, you just try to figure out how you can add as much value as possible to it in any way, right? I mean, everybody's got different goals. And so how can I contribute to whatever they're after? And that's the approach I take it. I'm not there to get anything from them.
Right.
I'm just there to figure out what they want and how do I help them get it. And then from that, whatever happens will happen.
Gotcha. That's huge, man.
And a lot of these people are so new, there's not really anything they could do for me. I'm just, just be honest with you. But anyway, so I've been doing that many, many, many years. If you do that for 4 years, every day, meeting new people. I mean, you can imagine you're going to get a good network.
Yeah, no, 110%. And so I'm curious, what kind of, did you always think like that? I mean, to me, that's a leadership mindset. I mean, did you always naturally kind of think like that, or was it a process? I mean, because that's huge to be able to, most people don't think like that. What kind of created that mindset?
It was a philosophy I had one day. It hit me right between the eyes. Just something I was thinking to myself. And I thought, catch this thought. It's got an interesting thought. If, in terms of buying houses, if I meet a wholesaler or a realtor, right? And I know 100 realtors or 100 wholesalers, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they each spend 1 hour a week looking for deals. It's kind of like having 100 free hours of marketing.
Wow. Yeah.
And so what if I have 500 or 1,000? Right. You've got an army of people looking for properties and maybe on your behalf, maybe not on your behalf, but they're looking.
Right.
And your job is to get a call, hopefully, when they find something. So you need to do a good enough job at building that relationship so that when they do find something, they think of you. And that's on you, and that's on me, right? That's on whoever was to do that. But
right.
So I got pretty good at figuring out, how to, and the truth is to do that is to just add so much value to somebody's life and their business and everything that they value you.
Right. Absolutely.
And the more they value you, the more likely they are to work with you.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That's absolutely huge. And the cool thing is obviously that's a good way to treat people and to work with people, but it's a good business strategy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal, I mean, seriously. So I feel like it's a really good holistic approach to business. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs I could adapt more of that, because you get so caught up in the task, in the minutia, and getting deals closed, and the stress with titles and all this, that sometimes it's really easy to forget, what's the main thing in this is really relationships. You know what I mean? That's where the power is. That's awesome, man. So you got this lending business. What does it look like now? I know you said you did about 10 or 15 deals, kind of 50-50. Where is it at now, and kind of what are your goals for it?
Well, you think for many, many, many years, I've been teaching people how to invest. Mm-hmm. With no necessarily means of income. I like teaching. So I had a lot of built up equity, human social capital.
Yep.
If you follow me on that thought.
Yeah.
And you have to get a loan from somebody when you're flipping or when you're doing. So naturally, I've trained a lot of people that nobody knows about, right? Because I've been meeting people every day. So it's like, I have an enormous network. I mean, you couldn't replace it. It'd take you many, many, many years, because it's taken me many years to do it. You couldn't just replace me in that way, or couldn't just replicate it. It would be impossible.
Right.
So there's been years and years of this, and I didn't have a product to offer these people, and I was doing it genuinely. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I was doing that. It just, the lending side naturally progressed through something I had been doing. Because if you were going to try to build a lending company, that's probably one of the best things you could do, is meet people, help them grow their business.
Absolutely.
And then they come back to you for the loan. Isn't that what a lending
company
should do?
Yeah, I mean, look at all the networking events are mostly from lenders. So it's like,
they're trying to meet people.
Yeah.
So I've paired the lending with coaching, which is what I like to do and what I'm good at. The special gift I bring to real estate isn't that, flipping or something. It's not wholesaling houses. I do that all the time, or all the rentals I have. It's really teaching and explaining ideas in a way that they're understandable, so that you can take them and use them and grow your business. That's kind of that's my gift. And it's also what I like doing the most.
That's awesome,
So
man.
lending is a natural progression to someone like me
Right.
who likes meeting people and likes teaching. And, I've never actually charged somebody. I mean, you can look at, there's tons of people that, that have been benefited from mentorship from me, but I've never charged them. And it's just kind of come back around, which is what happens, right? I mean, if you go into the world and conduct yourself in a terrible way, eventually it'll find its way back to you. Do you agree with that? Yeah, I mean, at some point, and it might work for a while.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to believe that if I sow good, I'll get good. And I don't know when. And it doesn't matter when.
Right.
Think about the guy that sows good, but expects it immediately.
Well, that's the kind of the world that we live in now, especially with the social media and everything. And it's the instant success. And that's really, it's not the truth, I've only been doing real estate now. This is going on my 4th year. And you spoke to me when I first got in. So the journey that I've been on, and it's, man, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've had so many punches to the gut in the last 4 years, but what I've learned is if you're in real estate and you do what we do, we all do. Like, it's just part of the gig. And, I think people, they watch a YouTube video and they're like, oh man, I want to go wholesale and make $400,000 on a deal. And it's like, that's not reality. The reality is, man, like, if you got to ground yourself into this is a career. And not only that, like, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, because there's a lot of people in real estate. There's not a lot of people that have longevity in real estate, So I think the longevity factor, to me, time is probably the best testing mechanism known to man, So if anything can stand the test of time, that kind of showcases everything, man. So
there's a philosophy that I come up with, and it says time is the friend of the wonderful person and the enemy of the lousy person.
That's 100% on point. 100% on point. Absolutely. Yep. Because with time, everything is going to progress one way or another, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. And or if you're putting in the work, if you're not putting in the work, so there's a lot of people. I know a lot of people that came into real estate. They did one big deal. I don't know where they're at. You know what I mean?
That was Monday. Today's Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. 100%, man. And it's like, I think the longevity factor is huge. And that's where true success is. I mean, it comes with a maturation period. So.
It's kind of reminds me a little bit. Have you ever heard of like Kobe Bryant or Stephen Curry? They call them killers.
Yeah.
They can, Stephen Curry doesn't have a consciousness. Like, he can hit 13 threes on you and not feel it and ready for the 14th.
Yes.
But some of these players will hit 2 or 3 and thinking they're on top of the world.
Yes.
That's a hard thing to, I don't know if that's something he was born with. Probably was to some degree. It also probably perspective, right? It's just that's another 3. It's another 3. There's no, there's a humbleness and a genuineness in that mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there's an ego that can obviously present itself by success.
I 110% agree. And I think, like you said, it's perspective. And if you look at, I like to study a lot of, top athletes, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan's, the Kobe Bryant's. And what's ironic is these are the guys that are harder. They're the hardest on themselves, and they're the most critical of themselves. But they're also the most successful and the best. And then you have guys like a James Harden or, just other athletes that may have a lot of talent, but they're worried about the strip club after the game, or they're worried about, the party or the social event, and they don't really hold themselves to a high standard, and they're probably not critical of themselves. I think having that humbleness is really important, because it makes you realize, like, yeah, I'm having success, but I could be so much better. And it kind of keeps you sharp. You know, I feel like it kind of keeps you sharp and continually to move forward, because you're absolutely right. Especially in real estate, you can do some whopper deals and it can jack your head up. You know what I mean? And I hopefully I will start seeing some of those whopper deals. I've know a lot of people that have had, you know, crazy deals, man, stuff that, you know, and then, you know, so in real estate that can happen, but it's like, what are you going to do now? Are you going to, you know, are you going to retire and go live on the beach for 2 years and come back broke? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my approach is, you know, no one deal matters. Doesn't matter how much it is. It's always on to the next and on to the next and on to the next. And that's the right, you know, mindset to have. And, you know, and that's, but, you know, I had, what, 2 weeks ago, I had 8 closings on Friday in one day. So, I mean, you know,
that's a day right there.
Yeah.
Man.
So you know, but those are all, you know, some of those were 3 months ago that went under contract. You know, they're all, you know how it is, right? Everything's got different timing on it. But you know, that's, and I would say that's probably what is the killer of most, you know, most investors, I think.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Is the idea of, you know, that they've made it or they've done well. And,
right.
And you haven't really done anything. I mean, even money, you're gonna go through the money. You know, it's just a matter of time. So it's just about creating a pipeline and creating a momentum so that, you know,
100%. I totally agree, James. And we'll kind of cap this up, man. Two things I want to get from you real quick before we leave is the first one is, what's, you know, when it's all said and done, all the work that you're doing, you're very in tune with your purpose and your gifts. What's the legacy? So when it's all said and done, what's the legacy that you leave behind? And then the second one is, what book would you recommend for a new entrepreneur, a new business person?
You know, I've always considered myself more of an Aristotle than an Alexander. You know what I mean by that?
I 100% know what you mean, because I've studied both. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I'm more of a guy that enjoys teaching, or like a you know, a stoic, like you know, you got Marcus Aurelius and some of these guys. So I'm more of a teacher by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had extreme action, and I've given this some thought. So care with me with this.
Yeah.
So my ideas are very important to me, and you're a lot less likely to take them seriously if there's no action behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
100%.
So you got the teacher, like, you know, that's never done anything in his life, but he's got these ideas. Well, I that kind of repulsed me. I figure, you know, people will take your ideas more seriously if they know you've done them.
100%.
And you're speaking from experience. So, you know, that's something that's driven me too, is I like teaching and I want my ideas to be impactful. Maybe that's a good word, impactful to others. And they're a lot more likely to be impactful if you know he didn't read that, you know, in a book, and then he actually read it, implemented it, and was very successful at it, and now he's sowing into me. Right. That's a different impact.
It's a whole different impact. Yeah. It's giving from a place of wisdom versus, you know, because there's a lot of information and knowledge, right? I mean, if someone wanted to go study something for, you know, 2 straight weeks, you could probably repeat some stuff and sound halfway decent, but to be able to speak from that place of experience is a whole different thing. And I totally agree with you. So it sounds like you kind of like to combine that teacher. You're kind of a mix. You're an Aristotle and an Alexander.
I would say maybe so, but I think over time, you say a
legacy,
a legacy. People will think of me more as a Socrates, or a Aristotle, in that
Gotcha.
there was a lot of very successful people that come out of that branch
Yes. Yeah.
of teaching and of ideas and of philosophy. And
Right.
it's happening. Maybe not on. It's happening. Maybe it's not as known, but it is happening.
Yeah.
And it will over time. It's a snowball. So I'm at the top of this hill right now, and I'm it's going down the hill slow, but I'm gaining snow. And over time, you look another 5 years down the road, that snowball will be much bigger. And it'll be a collection of successful investors who, were a part of, ideas, really, just anyway, that's something I think of, and that's a weird thought, but it just made sense to me. I just see myself more than Aristotle. I just do.
I love it, man. So what about for the book or books? I mean, but if you had to pick a book, what would you recommend?
I always recommend 3 books, and in this order. Okay. I think it's super important. The first book's Richest Man in Babylon.
Phenomenal book. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's super easy to read. It's so fast. It's so quick. It's like 90 pages. I mean, I read it in like an hour and a half the first time. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And the second book is As a Man Thinketh.
That's another good one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 25 pages. It's a deep book. And I would say read that book with a dictionary. Do not read that book without it, because the words that they're using can't be fully understood. You think you understand the words. I learned this myself. You think you understand them but what you're doing is you're taking a sentence and taking words within that sentence that and you're assuming what certain words are.
I see.
But you don't truly know the definition of some of the words. So if any word you're not fully 100% certain what it is, look it up on your app, a dictionary app, and then write it in there. And I'm telling you, that book, it's already powerful. But if you do that, it'll hit you in a different way. You'll realize what I'm talking about quick.
Yeah.
Because you have an idea of what you think a word means, but when you actually look at it, it'll change it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a subtle change that is what you're going for, right? You want full clarity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you got 70% of it, you're missing, what 30% are you missing here on this idea?
Right. Yeah.
So that's important. And I would say Think and Grow Rich. That's the third book. Those 3 right there in unison, in that order. I'm sure you've read them, but and you think about Rich Dad, Poor Dad too. That's kind of right in that mix. I usually go that with the 4th book, but if you'll read those books and really read them to understand them, I think it's that's really good. I mean, it's hard to beat those right there. No, I got a ton of them, and I read a lot. I mean, I think you know that. I try to read a book a week.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could go through. We could talk books all day long.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably one of the reasons that my perspective is different than most. Is because I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in books.
I totally agree with you, James. And like for me, books have completely transformed my life. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's crazy how putting the right information or consistent information in your brain and your mind, how it completely evolves you. And As a Man Thinketh, I need to reread that. I've read it one time, super deep, super deep. Yeah. And it's like, I think it's one of those books, like you have to ponder on it. It's a really kind of a metaphysical, I feel like, type of, theme. And then Think and Grow Rich, one of my favorite books. Richest Man Babylon. I've read it once, listened to the audiobook. I need to retouch on that one as well. But those 3, I agree with you. It'd be hard to go wrong if you just kept that information, in front of you. I mean, that's huge. Absolutely huge, man. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it's that kind of that thought of, you can have anything you want, or, you can have anything you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want, that kind of thought. And then the other thought would be, hopefully that you're getting is, you can have more because you can become more.
Right.
Which is a thought that I've always really made an impression on me. We all want more, but who's willing to become more?
Right. No, 100%.
That's the question. There's, you have to answer that. Just like who would kick my wife out because she
Right.
she wanted an educated person. I think most people would have kicked her out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think most people would want more, but not be willing to become more. And that's, it's your decision, just like it's mine or anybody else's.
Yeah.
It's
Awesome.
got to that idea's got to take root in you and be inspired by that idea.
Yeah. No, I love it, James. This was awesome, man. So much good content here. Really appreciate you taking your time out. I know you got huge things coming in for 2022, you like always. And just looking forward to connecting with you more, man. I appreciate you being with us today.
Yeah, I love talking ideas, man, and talking real estate, talking philosophy.
Yeah.
I could talk about that all day. That's things I enjoy.
Me too, man. Yeah, me too. Yeah, maybe one day we'll get paid to do it, James.
Yes, that's right. Love to.
Awesome, brother. Okay, man. Well, hey, have a good first of your year, and looking forward to connecting soon, man. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Blake.
All right, brother.
Appreciate
Yes,
you.
Mhm.